All right, one and all, welcome back to 40 Mario Before 40. Super Mario 2 is where we are, so I'm trying to finish all the Mario games I can before I turn 40. Unfinished business, and I'm at Mario 2. So that's how it's going. I had a suggestion from Brian, friend of the program Brian, that why not just every time I can pick a different character, why not pick a different character and just kind of see what happens. Oh, hold on. Alright, I just adjusted a quick sound thing so it didn't make me angry. So, that's what I'm gonna do this time, is try and have a different character going each time. Just to kinda, mix it up a little, I guess. And I figure it doesn't hurt to get to know... I mean, if I can do it with unfamiliar character, I can probably do it with Mario, right? I mean, my initial plan was to just use Mario, because I was like, well... it's probably... how should I put this? I'm not good at this, and it would probably be to my benefit to try and do it with the same character all the time. That way I can, get used to the feel. But I guess the jumping's really different. But I don't think the jumping's gonna be too big of a deal until a little bit later in the game. Probably like once I hit the snow and ice stages, it seems like the jumping is a little trickier. And especially the much later stages, it seems like the jumping's gonna be trickier, but probably not yet, so, it kind of works to... Ooh, well, okay. That was my speed running trick, that was totally on purpose. So anyway, just to kind of give the game a little bit of something, I'm gonna try play with different characters a little bit. And switch it up every time just to see what happens. So I'm gonna just have running commentary, because I figure if I'm playing with the different characters, why the hell not? Now this could be also a little challenging, I think. Yep. I think what's weird is that Luigi has the highest jump, which I think will definitely be advantageous at some points, but will also kind of create trouble for me at others. That's my estimation. Princess, I feel like, will become a problem when I'm fighting those bird things in certain stages where, so her digging, she's the least diggingest dog of all the diggingest dogs, and I think that her slow digging is gonna cause me to have some trouble. Because if you have to, dig up those eggs in order to, throw them, and if I, go flying into a wall or over a pit or whatever, because it takes her too long to dig, I think that's gonna be not great. I watched some... Oh, boy. So Toad's jump seems to be the lowest. It looked like when I was watching a video of someone running through a bunch of Mario games, it looked like Toad was kind of the speedrunner's character of choice in this game, which makes sense. He's the fastest digger. So I guess, he would be the fastest. I don't know if he's faster at running or anything, but I guess being the fastest digger is probably where you can make up some time in this game. I would think Toad and Luigi are the two ways to make up. I feel like there's a 1-up in this one. I feel like that's the two ways to make up time, probably, right? And so if you're digging through the sand, for example, it probably helps to have Toad. If you're trying to run through this game as quickly as possible. Those things are really, I don't know who programmed those, but they did a good job. There's got to be some things in this game that are very frustrating for a speedrunner. Like, I don't know if there's a way around this. Well, I guess you warp. But it just seems like, man, that would be tough. That would be annoying. Oh, fuck. Oh, good. Well, a star came. Wonderful timing. If I do this, and then I just wait for this star, will I get this guy? That's bullshit. I guess, too, you know, Toad could be kind of the expert's choice in that, like, when you're in those potion areas, it's probably easiest to dig with him, right? So, well, it's definitely easiest, so you may have the most one-up options. But on the other hand, if you're really good at this game, you don't really need one-up options, right? Like, getting one-ups is probably something you don't bother with if you're super good, because you don't need them. Damn it. I feel like the way to win this is to get the cherry at the beginning. You know, fuck trying to get the rest. That seems to be the only real chance you've got. Because getting the 3 lined up, I just don't know if there's like a winning way to do that. That's what I've discovered. Well, I was gonna relate this story of, so, if you just watch me on here and you don't follow me anywhere else, which seems unlikely, but whatever, welcome, I guess. I do other things, like on the internet, but just in life as well. And, one of the other things I do is I write, books. They're terrible. They're not terrible. They're the kind of self-published books that, you know, people purport to hate but don't really ever read. You know, they're like, oh, this guy couldn't get a contract with a publisher, so he went the self-pub route, which is 100% true. But also, I'm like, but you've never, like, I think most people who complain about self-published books have never actually read one. And, you know, it's a little bit too, like, I say they've never read one. But in reality, I'm like, how many? You'd have to read at least a couple, right? To be able to say you know what they're about. Like, because, you know, I'm thinking of, like, regular books. Traditionally, trad-published books, as we say. And I'm like, if you had read one traditionally published book, I would not say that you've got, like, a strong opinion on books that I need to pay attention to. Do you know what I mean? Damn it. I would say if you'd read one book and you were like, it sucked, and here's why it sucked, I'd be like, well, that's probably, you know, what happened when you read that book, but I mean, it's probably also unfair to be like, this is what books are. Imagine if you'd seen one TV show, and the TV show you saw was like Tim and Eric, and then you were like, well, I didn't like that, and therefore I don't like TV shows? I mean, that would be kind of nuts to make that claim, right? And that's kind of how I feel about people talking about self-published books, which I'm like, it's like a whole thing. Like, you could probably, if you do more than one, you'll probably find that, you know, there is something there that you would like. I think most people would like something. Anyway, I put out self-published books. And so one of the things that I did was I did some giveaways, which I still have some. So if you want one, let me know. I'll probably send it to you. So you'll have to instant message me or direct message me or email me I'm helpful snowman everywhere. So, you know, just do the minimum work, which is finding me it on some outlet online. And, you know, you can request a book and get it for free. I sent out a ton of these. And then I also sent out something to some other people. So basically I saved up a bunch of post office until it was like, all right, I gotta do post office. The post office is like the worst place. I mean, it's kind of not the post office fault. But man, is it bad. So I get there, and the line is like to the door. Now I went on a Monday, which I didn't realize. I guess I didn't think about the post office being more crowded on a Monday, which I should have. Because, you know, I would think about the bank or whatever being more crowded on a Monday. Or maybe a Friday or something. I guess I thought the post office would also be crowded on Friday, because I feel like Friday is when people seem to have like extra time on their hands. By the way, I'm skipping Mario because I've played a lot with Mario, so I figure I might as well be, oh jeez, just be not Mario. Anyway, it's like Friday seems like a day when, oh gosh, wow. Friday seems like a day when people, it seems like everybody gets off work at like noon on Friday, which I don't really understand. I don't know how this like early Friday thing happened, but I've never worked in like an office environment that works that way, where it's like, well, you know, I don't know. Most of my working life has been spent in like a public service position, and what that means is like, well, listen, there's no element of, hey, you know, we're not very busy today, let's knock off early. It's like, hey man, you just gotta fucking sit there and see if someone comes in, and until someone does, keep yourself busy. Which is kind of the hell of that kind of job. If you're working, or, you know, customer service type jobs work this way, and a lot of jobs work like this, right? But it sucks because you're like, well, you know, I can't leave, but I also, there's nobody here. There's nothing for me to be doing. So I'm just sort of stuck here until somebody decides to show up. And, you know, it's kind of the worst thing. The worst thing about my old job was being Saturday librarian, right? It would be Saturday librarian, and that meant you were there all day Saturday. You were the first person to arrive, because, you know, you had to like open the door and stuff. So where I worked, they had this system called the person in charge system, pick, and you were the pick. And what that meant is you were basically the supervisor, manager, whatever for the day, but you didn't make any extra money. And if you were to apply for a supervisor job, they'd be like, you don't have any supervisory experience. And you would, this is all hypothetical, and you would tell them, well, I have pick experience, and you know exactly what that is because it's your system. And they'd be like, yeah, you know, but I don't know if that really counts. And it was like, all right, fair enough. You know, actually totally unfair, but whatever. So what being the pick meant was like, you opened the doors in the morning, you know, and no one was supposed to really go in until you got there. And, you know, we also had safety shit, so it was like, no one's supposed to go in alone. So the staff who was there was kind of waiting for you to show up. So on and so forth. Oh, fudge. So on and so forth. And, you know, you were the last person to leave. So what it meant was a 9-hour day, which that was another bullshit part of the pick thing, because it was like, well, all right. No one's ever explained to me how, because we were open, staff had to be at the library where I worked from 9 to 6. The hours were 9 to 6. And, you know, and for most staff that was fine, because you would have an hour lunch. And so, you know, at some point, by the way, in like human society, we decided that lunch is not part of the day. So, and then they're like, well, you get an hour lunch break. And I'm like, well, but you're not really giving me an hour lunch break. If you're saying, oh, we give you an hour break for lunch, you should really be saying like, well, you can take an hour off the clock to go eat a lunch. Which I'm like, is that really like, it's not so much a benefit as it is a legal requirement that, if you've worked so long, you get a break or whatever. Anyway, the worst days were Saturday librarian days because they were so long. And like sometimes you would open the doors for the public, you'd get there an hour before the public shows up. Take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. And then you'd open the doors some days and you're like, oh my God, there is nobody here waiting to get inside. There's nobody in the parking lot. And this was very common, like in Colorado, let's say in the spring when it's like nice outside and you're like, yeah, I don't want to be here either. You'd have to be stupid to come to the library today. I always thought Toad was like so advantageous at these parts, but now I'm not so sure. Cause he's not like that much faster than Mario. And so, when you had a 9-hour day, and I guess that's what I was getting at with the whole like 9-hour day lunch break thing is like, well, you couldn't really take a lunch break when you were Saturday librarian because there was no one to cover you. And so there was basically no one in charge in the building. And here's what sucks about it is like, I as the Saturday librarian, I could have just been like, fuck it, like I'm leaving. Because, in one sense, you're like, well, I mean, the people I'm leaving in charge at the desk are not like children. They're like 35-year-old adults, with minimum of a bachelor's degree. Like they know what they're doing, but on the other hand, it's kind of unfair because then you're basically putting it on them to do your job. And it's not their job to do some of that stuff. But the real problem with the system is obviously like the organization putting it in place, because you're like, well, I mean, that puts me as the librarian in the position of being like, ugh, I don't want to screw the people I'm working with by leaving for a lunch break. But on the other hand, it shouldn't be my decision to have to give that up or not. It should be the organization either like saying that that's impossible or not. It sucks. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes working in public service really sucks. But goddamn were those days boring. Those just long days, and like the long Saturdays were the worst because I couldn't leave. And at any time, something could happen that I needed to address, right? Like I need to be this person in charge. So at any moment, I could be in a situation where it's like, okay, you need to do this, or somebody needs this, or somebody's pissed off about something, or someone's like, oh, there's a dog in a car in the parking lot. You would not fucking believe how many times we got somebody saying, like, there's someone saying there's a dog in the parking lot in a car, and I was like, well, all right, I mean, and I would go out and look, because I was like, well, yeah, I don't want a dog to die, but I would also be sort of like, I mean, I went out there and the dog looks fine to me. And a lot of times, the person who reported the dog in the parking lot would be like pissed that I hadn't, done more about the dog in the parking lot situation. And I was kind of like, always told them the same thing, like, if you feel the dog's in distress, you can absolutely call the police and they will come. And if they think the dog is in distress, they'll, smash the window and get the dog out. I'm not of the opinion that that's what's happening here. So, like, it's this weird thing where, like, people come to you and say, like, hey, there's this situation happening, right? And keep in mind, I am not the sheriff. I am, a librarian working at a library on a weekend. And, So sometimes the way I dealt with things was not to somebody's satisfaction, and that's okay. Like, I get that. And I get being disappointed about that fact. However, I was just like, sometimes people gotta recognize, like, hey, like, if you come across a dog in a car and you want it dealt with a certain way, you might have to be the person who deals with it in that way. In other words, if you turn the job over to me, I might deal with it the way you'd prefer, and I might not. And, like, I was never, you know, cruel and uncaring about animals in a car, because I was like, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like 90 fucking degrees. But, you know, I was also like, hey, listen, if somebody is going to be in the library for less than 10 minutes, their dog's probably fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, this dog is not going to die in a car in 10 minutes if it's high 80s. And because, you know, we're not talking about, this isn't Phoenix, Arizona. It's not 120 degrees. And I'm like, well, presumably this car was at a temperature that was comfortable when it was parked. And to be honest, I've spent the last like 2 years going to work and eating lunch in my car in the summer. And I'm like, I'm alive, you know, and I'm not dead from being in my car in the heat for 15 minutes. So, you know, I think the dog is fine. And like, you know, the real thing sometimes I think is that people are like, I don't like the way this person is caring for this animal. Like, I don't condone this sort of attempt at animal ownership, care, or whatever. And, you know, I was inclined to agree with that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you have a dog, you know, be fucking responsible. And if you don't have time to hang out with your dog, if you're like, this dog's kind of disrupting my normal routine or whatever, like, probably you shouldn't have a dog. But I was like, you know, this is kind of getting outside of my my role as a librarian. As a Saturday librarian, it's probably outside my realm to be like, you know, I should be talking to people about who should and shouldn't own a dog. And, you know, I gotta say, like, I would, you know, sometimes I would just keep track of the situation and just be like, okay, well, I went out, the dog seems to be fine. And I'll check again in 15 minutes, and I think universally the dog would be gone. You know what I mean? Like, it was never a big problem. Anyway, all that to say, like, the thing that sucked about being Saturday librarian the hardest was not the dogs in the cars. It was not the people, like, wanting me to, you know, someone would be mad about something that was like library policy. And I would often explain to them, like, so here's the deal. I can't do what you want me to do because that would probably cost me my job. I do understand what you're saying to me, though, and understand why that's frustrating. And, you know, if you want to get that changed, what you're going to have to do is, like, talk to our admin. And, you know, they would be like, okay, well, you can't do this, you know? And I was like, listen, let me give the whole world a piece of advice. Whoever is working the desk at the place you're angry at on Saturday morning is not the person who runs the company. The very nature of the fact that they are there on Saturday morning, when it's like a beautiful fall or spring day outside, that is your hint that that person is not the decision maker. That's the person who's at the bottom of the barrel. And, you know, as bottom of the barrel guy, I was like, listen, I get your frustration and, like, I share your frustration. However, you know, I'm not able to solve it. I just can't. I don't have the tools. Do you think I can use a potion and then use another potion on the same plants? Oh, fudge. Well, let's see. I don't know if I could have done it in the same life, but now we'll find out if I could do it in the 2 different lives, because I know the potions go away, right, if you use them once. Fuck. Fuck. Lovely. Well, okay. That's interesting, though. That's a good spot to get some extra shots at some extra lives. So on Saturday, though, when I wasn't dealing with nonsense, you kind of had to, like, figure out, like, what am I gonna do today? And, like, I would try and leave things... Oh, what? I would try and leave things aside. You know, you'd have a thing like a weeding list, so it's a list of books you need to pull and, like, check the condition and stuff like that. And I would try and leave stuff like that for Saturdays because I would be like, well, I'm gonna have some time to kill and basically be bored, so I might as well... Oh, shit. This is kind of what I was talking about with the jumping challenge that I might face. Ugh. Ugh. That was the worst thing, though. It was just trying to have to, like, basically be like, find something to do. And you're just like, I don't know, man. What am I gonna do? Like, and it was no one's fault. And, like, I don't want to make it sound like, oh my god, this is not going well. I don't want to make it sound like librarians and library staffs are, like, not doing anything on the weekend, because they are. But there's a certain extent to which, like, what you're gonna do that day is controlled just by the fate of who's coming in. Because you have to be available for people coming in. You can't do something too intense or that would take you away from your ability to basically stand up at any moment and go do whatever. Which, by the way, I think was the worst thing about a librarian job. There's a lot of good things about it, and there's some not as good things. And one of my least favorite things was, like, you couldn't ever really, like, get into something, because at any moment, you know, we had pagers, because we're cutting edge technology. But we had pagers, and at any moment your pager could go off, and that means you need to help somebody with something. And, like, you wouldn't know what it was, so you couldn't, like, prep for these things, right? It was what it was. Like, if I go out there and someone has a Kindle that they need help with, I help with the Kindle. If I go out there and someone has, you know, a job application they're having trouble filling out, that's what I help with. You know what I mean? Like, you have no idea what it's going to be, and you don't know the people are coming. And you don't know things like, you know, hey, how much experience does this person have? Like, if they're trying to do something in Microsoft Word and they can't seem to quite figure it out, is this going to be a 10-minute coaching session where I'm like, okay, well, I see this is a table, and if you do this and that with tables, you can kind of do this. Or is this, oh, fuck. Or is this going to be a bit more involved? Is this going to be like, I don't know how the very basics of Microsoft Word work, right? In which case you're like, okay, we're going to have to do a little bit more in-depth instruction here. This is not going to be easy. And you might have to spend an hour with somebody. So that's the thing that sucked in that way, was like, well, you could end up oh shit. You could end up spending an hour with somebody, you could end up spending 2 minutes with somebody, you don't know. And so that's the thing, right? You'd have to, like, oh, that's a trap. I was pushing down that whole time, by the way. Um, so that's what sucked the hardest is like, you didn't know when you get that page and you're like, this could be an hour, this could be a minute, and you couldn't like do something, you couldn't like assume that you had time to do a project. So if I save work for Saturday, something that I'm like, well, this can hold, like I don't need to do this today. It's fine, but then sometimes you don't get any of it done. And you're just like, well, shit, now I'm like way behind on oh, fuck me. Now I'm way behind on this project. Oh shit. Am I gonna get shot by this guy? Maybe I need to tap down. Tap, 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 tap. You don't get your project done, and then, you're like, now I'm behind on this project. It sucks. The one good thing about working the weekend and being the Saturday librarian, though, was so you'd work Saturday and Sunday, and then I would be off Monday, Tuesday. And what was awesome about that was being off on Monday and Tuesday is the best. Especially if you're like not a big social person. If you're just a medium social person like me. Because it was like, you have a weekend, and you have a weekend where like nobody else is off. So what that means is like, you rarely get like an invite to do something on Saturday, Sunday. Or Monday, Tuesday. So you kind of have like time to yourself. And you have a great day. So a lot of times I would go to the movies on Monday night. So I was like, oh, Monday night is a great time to go to the movies and not have a bunch of dorks there making a bunch of noise, or like roving packs of teenagers who come into the theater 40 minutes after the movie has started, because you're like, clearly they're not supposed to be in the rated R movie. And like, I wouldn't really care if they were in the rated R movie, but they should just if they would just shut the fuck up. Like, they're making it a problem for themselves. Anyway. Damn it. Damn it. So, it was a good day to do that without those problems, right? Those life's little problems. And, it was a great day. Monday and Tuesday was also great. Like, if I had things I needed to do, like go to the post office, I'd be like, I'm gonna fucking do that on Tuesday. While everybody else is at work. Something that you will get frustrated with over time if you're like off on a Monday or Tuesday regularly is you're like, why doesn't everybody else have a job? I'm surely you'll be on the interstate and you'll get in a traffic jam in the middle of the fucking day and just be like, so how I am certain that all the people that I'm on the road with did not have the weekend. We're not working this weekend. What is going on? What is happening to this great country? People used to know the meaning of work. That's a little drastic. That's more than a little drastic. I think Princess looks maybe the most hilarious when tiny, but probably Toad. Toad looks very funny. I do wonder about the aesthetics of Toad. So, like, he's kind of got that enormous hat, and then he's got his open vest and his pants and his shoes. I feel like, it's very Middle Eastern inspired, which is how the game Doki Doki Panic that this was based on worked, right? Like, it was inspired by Middle Eastern stories and aesthetics and stuff. That's why you're like in a giant pot and whatever. Magic lamps, etc. Oh, fuck. So, I wonder if, like, the overall look of Toad through the ages has been influenced by the fact that he was in this game as, like, the first game where he was, like, really prominent. And they're like, yeah, let's just stick with this little vest and no shirt and, these kind of puffy pants and His whole look seems like it came from this game, which means I think his whole look, my assumption is he's kind of just a reskin of a character from Doki Doki. Oh. Well, I guess that's why those guys are there. He's just a reskin from a character from Doki Doki Panic, right? And he seems like maybe the laziest reskin in terms of they just kind of made like the same guy that was in Doki Doki Panic, and they were just like, just kind of make him, no one cares what Toad looks like. He's a mushroom man. He doesn't have to look any particular way. So, just let's take it easy on that design. Throwing the... Oh, God. Oh, God. I'm dying a lot of dumb ways, and I can't tell if this is because it's been a little bit since I've played, or if it's, my unfamiliarity with these characters is kind of greasing death's wheels here. So, going to the post office is something I would have done on like a Monday or Tuesday, figuring it's busier. But really, I think the post office is open like part of the day Saturday, and that's probably when you should go. Because I bet the only people who go are, just people with too much time on their hands or whatever. And, you're up, because I think it's open. This is kind of the worst situation. What just happened? Oh, okay. Well, at least I started by the door. But I would assume it would be a little bit better. Well, I went on a Monday, and let me disrecommend going to the post office on a Monday. This has taken me like an hour to tell this fucking stupid story, which is going to be sort of ironic once I get to the point of it. But I go in on a Monday, and the line is like to the door. I mean, it is wall to wall. And some of the things I've got, I can send using the like self-help station, whatever you call that, because it's simple enough, right? It's like, I can get this stamp, oh, fuck. They can change direction midair, huh? Okay, this is my last shot. It would be great to finish World 3 right now, because then I would, not make waste of a continue. Where if I don't finish it now, I'm going to have to play World 3 again. But, some might say I need the practice, so fuck it. It's wall to wall, and like what sucks about the post office self-printing of postage is it'll like do all the math. It does it. It's not too bad, but then you get to the part where it's like, will this postage fit on your package or envelope? And it's fucking enormous. Like it's the size of my entire hand. And every time I've done it, I've been like, no, that will not fit on my package. It is a little insulting in the penis way. Oh, there's no fucking way I'm gonna do this. Oh, crap. It's insulting in the penis way, but in seriousness, I'm like, I don't think this is gonna fit on most packages, would it? Doesn't seem like it would. Maybe I can exploit the princess's floatiness to my advantage. No! I thought he was going to take a little hop. Shit. That's terrible. That is terrible. Alright. This is bad. Okay, if I get to World 3-3 again, I'm not going to pick the princess on purpose. I can't guarantee it won't happen, but I'm not going to do it on purpose. So I can only use the self kiosk for a little bit. Now I had 30 packages to send out. The other thing was, one was going abroad, and one was going to Wisconsin to a really weird address that they were like, take it to the thing because they'll probably be like, what? And then you have to explain to them, like, I promise you, if you just put this in exactly as I have it here, it will go where it needs to go. So I had to go up to the desk at some point. So I did as many as I could from the self-kiosk. And what was funny about the self-kiosk is, like, I did a first round and got some large envelope stamps and was like, all right, I know this is the postage for all of these. So I'm just going to do a bunch of these. And I did like 20 of them. But I was aware that there were people in line behind me waiting to use the self-check thing. And so instead of printing like all, I don't know, 25 that I needed, what I did was print like 15? Because I was like, well, it's not fair to make everybody wait this long. So I printed about half of what I needed at the oh, shit. Shit! Shit! Fuck it. That was a bad decision. This is actually a really easy level that's giving me way too much of a hard time. It's not a long level. Sorry, I'm too focused, I guess. Trying to win. Gotta have the will to win. So, you know, I was trying to be courteous to the other people in line behind me at the... Okay, I'll go Princess this time, Toad next time. I was trying to be courteous to the people behind me. And sort of be like, hey, listen, you know, I'll print these. Because the thing with the large stamps... So it's a large envelope stamp. It's like the size of a regular ass stamp. It comes out so slow. It's like, you know, and that's how you get two. And I was like, man, if I'm sitting here waiting for fucking 25 of these, this is a nightmare. And like, I would be upset if I was the person behind me and I was like, Jesus, how many fucking of these things is this asshole getting? So I thought I would do that, and then of course what ended up happening was shit. What ended up happening was that I don't think you can avoid that. I didn't get hit by it, but I didn't avoid it. So I print out my 25, then I come back and to print out the other, you know, I don't know. Or I print out, sorry, like 12, and then I come back to get the other 12. And of course, what happens at that juncture is there's somebody else using the machine. Some lady's using the machine to send just basically a basic envelope. Takes fucking forever. Takes her so long to use the self-check machine. And like, that's always been my pet peeve at the grocery store with the self-checks. It's not that, you know, I'm like, oh, somebody's not doing their job or something. I don't care. Like, I would prefer the self-check. And the reason I like the self-check is because in the past, I've often gone to the grocery store for like 2 things. And you're like, I don't want to wait. And then, you know, you can get in the Express or whatever, but you're like, I mean, the Express is, I don't know why this is giving me such a hard time. The Express also kind of sucks because it's like 10 items or less or something. And you're like, I mean, 10 items and 2 items is really different. And, you know, you're like waiting for the other person to pay and you're just doing all this stuff. So I like the self-check idea, but what I don't like about it is that oftentimes you'll be trapped behind someone who's very inexperienced with the self-check. And so then that causes you to basically wait behind the slowest person ever to use a self-check. And so it loses all of its advantage when that's the case. So anyway, I was stuck behind this lady fucking forever. And then finally, she finished. So I got to send most of my other packages, and then I had 3 that I had to go up to the desk to send, from the counter for various reasons. And like, I'm waiting in line, waiting. And then it's like, it's like a sketch from TV or something where it's like I get up there, it's finally, I'm next. And the people who are being helped at the counter right then are 2 old ladies. I do want to clarify something very quickly, which is that, I think postal employees get a bad rap because people are like, oh, they're slow and whatever. And I'm like, I kind of understand their slowness though, because it's like, look, I'm here from 9 to 5, and like, everybody in this line, like, in order to work at a post office, I think you have to be unbothered by an extremely long line. And you can't like work at the post office and be like, I'm gonna be like flying through customers when the line is long. Do you know what I mean? And then be more casual with them when the line is short. You just kind of have to be like, well, everybody's here and nobody's going anywhere until we get done, so whatever. So, there's this old lady who's, of course, buying, like, stamps. Because, that's the only people who buy stamps. And, and it's, like, pathetic at the post office because they're always like, do you need any stamps? And I'm like, no. Obviously, I bought stamps, like, 2 years ago that I'm still working through. Making the forever stamp was like the dumbest thing they ever did. Maybe. Because I'm like, I don't need to come buy new stamps now. I mean, it's great for me. Because I'm like, I don't want to do this bullshit where I buy a stamp. And then I'm like, a very short time later. That was amazing shot for me. A short time later, I'm like, oh, okay, well. Now I gotta go buy a 2-cent stamp to add to this stamp and like all that. Anyway, this old lady's like, oh, do you have this kind of stamp? Do you have that kind of stamp? It's like, well, I gotta get the new stamps. Of course. And so, which is fine, by the way. Sometimes I just wish it was like, hey, like, I understand. You want stamps. You like stamps. And, you want to go into the post office and, like, chat with the person and, have a little interaction here. And, I understand that. And that's sometimes how I wish the lines in, like, stores were divided. It was just like, this is the line for people who are, like, this is kind of a waking hellscape for me to be in this post office. I hate it here. Nothing's going to make me happier than leaving. And therefore, I don't really care about, like, exchanging pleasantries and whatever. I'm not trying to dehumanize you, postal worker. I'm just trying to say that, like, if you want to be very clinical and just get the job done, I am very okay with that. And that is what I would prefer. Because I know that if you're like that with the person with me, that means you're also being like that with the person in front of me. Oh, shit! You're being that way with the person in front of me, so on and so forth. All right, I'm going to try Mario, just because this is my, last shot. Oof, you only get 2 lives on a continue, huh? So this old lady is just chatting and, like, whatever, and then she's finally, like, done. And, both of the 2 open windows are occupied by very old ladies who've got their canes hooked on the counter and whatever, and I was like, oh my god. How is this possible? But then this old lady who's like done, and she's doing the thing where it's like, let me reassemble my purse and, do all that so that I can leave, and I'll just stand right here as I do that. Which is fine, because I'm like, she's an old lady and she's got a cane. She's probably not like able to walk and do that at the same time. just because, like, that would perhaps present a somewhat dangerous situation for her. But, you know, this is happening, and she's getting all assembled. And then she's like, oh, did I get my stamps? And the post office lady is like, I'm pretty sure I gave them to you. She's like, I can't seem to find them. You know, and she's assembled everything, right? So then she's doing a disassembly in order to figure out if she's got her stuff. And she's like taking her entire wallet apart and her purse and all this. And like, it goes on so long that I see something I've never seen before, which is the postal employee just gave her another set of stamps and was like, here, just take these. And then, yep, this does work. Okay. This is a good opportunity to get some extra coinage. If you find the other stamps, just bring them back. Just bring these back. So she's like offering her just free stamps, completely, you know, on the honor system, and is like, look, if I gave you your stamps and you find those, just bring these other ones back. If you don't find them, now you've got stamps. Everyone's happy. And of course, this lady's like, oh, I know I've got them in here. You know, they have to be somewhere. I don't want to do that. You know, I don't want to be a bother or something. And I was like, lady, you're being a bother right now. Like, I understand what's going on here. And fortunately, I was off that day, which meant that it was like a not unpleasant situation for me. I was like, well, it's not like I had somewhere to be. Do you know what I mean? That's like, I guess, how the lines should be really divided is like, this is a line for people who have somewhere to be in the next hour. This is a line for everybody else. And it would never work, because no one's going to be honest about that, but whatever. But yeah, it was a comical saga at the post office of just the proportions of like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You know what I mean? Like, come on, lady. And come on, post office. And come on, like, universe. How is the universe doing this to me? You know? Just like, what are the odds? I go to the post office like twice a year. You know, because it's just, something happens where I'm like, fuck. You know, like, I have no choice. I now understand why those, like, postal service, oh, shit! That's one of those, like, I swear I was pushing the B button. Where I understand those, like, stamps.com. You know, every podcast was advertising stamps.com for a while. And I was like, just go to the post office. And now I'm like, oh, now I get it. Now I completely understand. Because if you were somebody who was sending out, if you were like a self-published author who sent out books regularly, I would be like, kill me. You know what I mean? And I'd be like, stamps.com is a lot more expensive than just going to the post office every time I need to. And it is 100% worth it. You know, it's like the aggravation and I waited in line. I was in the post office between these like 2 bouts of self-check and then one of going to the counter. I was in the office for an hour total. So I was like, you know, if you did this even like every 2 weeks and it took an hour each time, so it was like basically an hour every 2 weeks, at some point you're like, the math just makes it make more sense to get stamps.com. Oh, shit. Shitty. I can't believe this fucking story about the post office might take as long as playing as this entire attempt. You know what I mean? Like, that's the ironic thing here is like, I'm complaining about something taking too long. And here we are. Okay. I've done this like 3 times now. Fucking Stupid asshole. Maybe I got that right? I do need to go through one of these times and make a chart. Just like, I'll stop, I'll write it down and be like, okay, when you get to this part, here's where it is. I still have written down if I were to get to like World 6, I think, which are the snake jars to go in. Oh, fuck you, game. I hate when it does that, gives you that little heart that comes off to the side. That it's like, I don't even know if I can get that, but also I have no use for it. And it's like, you don't think there were other times you could have given that to me? Where I could have made some use of it? Ugh. Ugh. I don't know, last time I played, if you remember... Damn it. I had a pretty good run last time, like, and the last few times I've made some progress, and this has been a big setback playthrough. But it has been, I think, a couple weeks since I played last. So, I think the lesson, oh god, good job. Good job, dummy. The lesson here is very obvious. I think if I played this like every other day, it would be much easier to finish, because, you know, I wouldn't forget anything, do you know what I mean? And you would just kind of get more used to the feel of it. It's sort of like if you drove a car every month your entire life, you probably would never get great at it. But if you drive every day, you know, you get pretty good at it. Or if you had to take a different route to work in an unfamiliar town every day, it's, you know, not as good as like, well, if I take the same route every day or so, then yeah, I'll get to know it pretty well. I'll get to know it like the back of my hand. Wonder how many people could identify the back of their hand versus the back of someone else's hand, like just from a lineup. That would be a good test for, like, you know, they're always saying that, like, eyewitness testimony is unreliable or whatever. That would be a good test to try and be like, is it? Or is it not? And be like, sir, can you identify the back of your hand from these back of hand mugshots? See, that time I just immediately threw it on the ground. Alright. Yes. Oh, shit. Shit. Not a fan of this part. Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, you got a post office story out of this, I guess. That's something. Retry. Maybe that's what I should rename this project. Retry. The Mario Before 40 project. Okay, well, we'll see you next time.